my name is Josh. I'm the owner of Tiny Tranquility here on the beautiful Oregon coast. So Tiny Tranquility is a tiny home community here on the Oregon coast. We've got 43 sites, most of which are sites that are being rented to folks who have brought their own tiny homes really from all over the country to come live here on the Oregon coast. But we also have a number of nightly rentals, so if you just want to visit the park and check out tiny home living, you can do that too. And then we've got a handful of monthly rental of tiny homes that we own.
My dream came true to live in a tiny house community in a beautiful area, on a beautiful spot, surrounded by like-minded people. We have these nice spacious lots. We've done landscaping, and in the 2.5 years that I've been here, our shore pine trees and our shrubs have been growing, and they create this beautiful hedging along each tiny house and each lot. It is a gorgeous Oregon day, which is rare. Whenever it's not raining, we all come out and we all shout at each other from one tiny house to another tiny house. It is an ideal place to live. We've been growing as a community and watching everything that we've planted start to bloom this spring, and we're very excited about that.
In terms of how Tiny Tranquility came about and what started that idea in my brain, I mean, it wasn't any one sort of flipping the switch sort of moment. I'd actually bought the property where the park is now without any idea what I was going to do with it. I'd had a house next to the property here on the Oregon coast, and this property became available, and I was still working a corporate job at that point in time, and kicked around a bunch of other crazy ideas, and then started learning about the tiny house movement, which I really knew nothing at all about, and just really liked the idea of it and sort of the ethos of it, of minimalism and sort of the values associated with tiny house living. Then at some point, as I started talking to tiny home builders and people who are living in tiny houses, it became clear that there really wasn't a lot of places to put them. I guess the business part of my brain joined with the part of my brain that just really liked the idea of tiny home living and thought that a tiny home community of some sort would be something I could be passionate about, but also something that a lot of people would be interested in. So we're here at Tiny Tranquility, and we're about to go into we call it a greenhouse because it grew up in life as a greenhouse. The park property actually used to be the site of a very large wholesale and then retail nursery that was here for actually decades and went out of business about 4 or 5 years before we acquired the property. Okay, so this is one of the 3 bays in our it's about a 12,000 square foot greenhouse. As you can see, this is where we have our community garden. We've got a really active group of folks living in the park who are doing everything in here. Yeah, it's been really great seeing that part of the community come together, particularly over the last year during COVID. I think this was a nice sort of respite or escape for folks to be able to come in here and garden, and it's really taken off since then. In the other 2 bays in the greenhouse, it's kind of I'd call it a multi-purpose facility. We have a little exercise area, which we're actually going to be moving into a separate, maybe a little cleaner environment than a greenhouse for working out. We have a workshop area. We do have a number of folks who do woodworking and things like that. We have storage as well. So we have, I think, 5, 6 storage cages. So there are some people who have downsized from a bigger space, not surprisingly, and maybe they need some temporary storage for 6 months or a year, and so we give them that option as well. And we've got some space where some people have their own little personal gardens as well. We have a glass blower's workshop. He's got actually, I think, 2 or 3 kilns in the workshop there, and he does some glass blowing. And then we just have some real functional stuff, like we have a mail drop, a lot of package delivery, and actually we have a giveaway area. So there's it's surprising how much stuff is coming out of the tiny homes. So if it doesn't get taken at the giveaway, then we'll take it to a donation place in the local area. So I think I've probably covered, that's a lot going on in this facility. Again, it's 12,000 square feet. So again, I think it gives us an opportunity to have a lot of stuff that our residents can use.
Thanks to our sponsor, Deal Dash. Ooh, do you like deals? Of course you do. Wondering how to get the best deals and save up to 90% on brand new items? Look no further than Deal Dash, a leading auction site in the US.
We just tried Deal Dash and we're on the hunt for a smart speaker. They had a rad one, so we jumped right in with our first bid. But being on top didn't last long, so we used the Bid Buddy tool to place our next several bids for us. That keeps it easy.
All the auctions start at $0 and each bid raises the final price by 1 cent and resets the clock to 10 seconds. After the time runs out, the final bidder wins.
Unfortunately, we didn't come out on top this time, but the person who did got a real steal. But we'll keep browsing the hundreds of daily auctions on brand new items, from TVs and laptops to tools and even cars, with guaranteed free shipping.
And there's a 90-day money-back guarantee. Use code TINY to get $11 worth of free bids. That's a 30% bonus on your first bid pack purchase.
We're standing in front of our Redwood Commons. The second floor of the Commons is sort of the highlight of the building. We built that so we could get an ocean view. So there's a nice deck and a nice great room there with an ocean view, with a full kitchen, a nice seating area, an electric fireplace, just a really comfortable area to hang out if you want to grab some other people in the park or some friends and family are visiting. Just a really nice place to chill out, have a glass of wine, watch a sunset. And then down on the first floor, it's a little more functional. We've got a ADA bathroom, a full bathroom, a lift that goes up to the great room, so that, you know, if you have some mobility issues, you don't have to walk up a set of stairs. And then there's a laundry facility for my cleaning staff, because I do have a bunch of nightly rentals here at the park. And actually we're standing sort of in the midst of the nightly rentals. There's 9 of them right here. I've got 10 total, or actually it'll be 11 this summer. And they're all sort of congregated in the same area with quick access to a couple of our common facilities as well. And then immediately behind me is a tiny home that came to the park looking very differently than it does today. There was a gal living in it. She left the park at some point and I bought her tiny home. And then I worked with a guy who's really a master carpenter who lives in the park to completely remodel the exterior and the interior. I think it's an 18-footer, so it's not huge, but I think we tried to pack a lot of functionality into what's a pretty small space. We're now inside what I think is an 18-foot tiny home. So we try to pack in a good bit of functionality into a pretty small space, just like most tiny homers do. So we've got a queen bed up in the loft area, and we've also got some storage on the other side of that. It's not fully outfitted yet, but we've got some of our plate storage up here. Of course, we've got a full bathroom with a shower. The other thing we did in a couple different places in the home is we repurposed some materials, either from my old 100-year-old house in Portland, which is this countertop right in front of you, and then also this pallet wall. We actually had a bunch of really nice cedar pallets that were left in the nursery when we bought the property, and we thought that would be a nice little feature inside the tiny home. We've got our kitchen area over here. We just have a countertop burner, but there's plenty of counter space for that. I think I'm going to add a dual burner as well, a little toaster oven, and a good bit of storage down here. And then Ken built this staircase, and in the staircase, we've got a nice little fridge integrated into it, and then this will be our garbage and recycling area. And then we've got some additional storage area here, and then some area down here for like your shoes, actually in the step down here, and you can probably store some stuff in some of these other step wells as well. There had been a commercial use on the property, but technically this area is zoned residential. So I had to go through a process with the Lincoln County planning folks. It's called a conditional use process, where it's actually a fairly lengthy process where they could say no. If the Lincoln County Planning Commission had decided they didn't like what I was trying to do, then I wouldn't have been able to do it. So it was not explicitly zoned for a RV park or a tiny home, certainly not a tiny home RV park. So it was about a 9 to 12 month process to make my case to first the city planners, and then ultimately, which sort of culminated in a hearing before the Lincoln County Planning Commission. which is basically 6 citizens voting on whether or not they're going to approve your development concept. And then after that, it was working with the county on various conditions that they wanted to place on the use of the property. So it was a journey, and there was various possible derailers along the way. So it wasn't without some stress, because at any point, any of those derailers could have really prevented the project in the park from going forward. We're filming here where I've got a bunch of our nightly rentals, and part of the idea was to really give some people who are thinking about tiny home living an opportunity to kind of dip their toe into the tiny home realm without diving in head first. We've got, I think, a pretty good collection of different types of tiny homes. As you can see, they're all very different. A number of them have lofts and have the sleeping area in lofts. We've added a few more recently where there's a sleeping area on the main level, which is actually what most of the folks in the park have. Just very different tiny homes with sort of different features and amenities within them. Some very short. This one to my left is, I think, an 18-20 footer. And then one of the ones down behind me is like a 37-footer. And so sort of all lengths in between that. So again, if you want to come and see a bunch of people sort of living, breathing tiny homes, when you're walking around the park, you have that opportunity, and then you can stay in one as well to get your own sort of feel for what it might be like to actually live in one yourself. So we're in the sort of the southwest corner of Tiny Tranquility, and to my right are a couple tiny homes where the folks, in one case, the gal who's living in the home lives there full time. In another case, we've got somebody who goes back and forth actually between the Oregon coast and New York. My site rent right now is either $600 or $625 a month, depending upon the site. Most of the sites are $600 a month. Plus I pass through electricity at my cost, plus a little administrative fee. But the reality in tiny homes, particularly if they have like a mini split or a heat pump, I'd say the average electricity cost out here is about $25 to $30 a month. Then to my left, we've got our dog park. There's actually quite a few people in the park who have dogs and also cats. And so they can run their dog here. And we also have about an acre in the back where you can't really see it here, but where I have my drain field. And that's another area where people run their dogs as well. You can see we built up a berm along the western perimeter of our park, sort of to give some separation to some of the residential houses that are in this area. We're sort of in the concept phase for the park. We did sit down with the neighbors and ask them about their concerns and sought their input on what we were doing. Part of what we heard, because they really didn't know what the park was going to look like ultimately, is creating some sort of visual barrier from what we were doing here and from their houses. And so we built this berm up and we landscaped it pretty aggressively as well, which frankly I think benefits the folks in the park. It looks really good for us, but also serves as a little bit of a visual barrier to the folks in the neighborhood as well.
We had a barbecue yesterday. Everybody, what can we bring? What can we do? And that, so yeah, it's really nice. I've never really lived in an area where everybody gets along. Different political views, different ideas about things, and everybody's just like, hey, we live here, and they're very protective of it, and just everybody gets treated very well.
Ever since I've been here, I mean, from the first day I was on the property, there was another owner here, and we met. She was like, isn't this great? We were just so overjoyed about the place. And ever since then, meeting everybody, they're so happy to be here. Everybody's upbeat. Everybody's just enjoying living this lifestyle and being out on the Oregon coast. I mean, who doesn't love this? You get to see pure magical beauty every day. So yeah, everybody's in a happy space, I think. Yeah.
With like-minded people here, what happens in a community is people who have talents and strengths come out. So I have neighbors who know how to sew. I can't sew. I will help somebody with computer work or with PR and marketing, which is my background. They've used me at events because I used to be an event planner and producer. We have a garden committee. And we have a committee that put together an excellent recycling program because we have all this greenhouse space, which is another amenity to the park.
Now we're going to check out our Doug Fir Lodge, which is, as we talked about, one of the shared spaces that all of our residents and our visitors have access to when they're at the park. We call this a lodge because it's kind of a big open space. It's actually a repurposed building. Did a bunch of structural work and did a bunch of other work inside, and now it's sort of a community living room again, bigger than in the one we have in the Commons. You can see here we've got some wood on the ground because actually we're going to be building our new exercise room, or we're in the process of doing that now. Hope to have that done within the next couple months. Yeah, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we have going on in the lodge. I think we've packed in a fair amount of stuff. It's a big space. Again, it's about 2,400 square feet. So actually behind me, just from a purely functional standpoint, we have our laundry facility. But in front of us, you can see we've got a really nice seating area with a wood-burning stove, which gets used quite a bit, particularly during the winter. And then as we go through here, we've got you can see somebody's doing a little bit of sewing here. That's an impromptu thing. A TV room, if you don't have a TV or you don't have, say, cable stations, you got to watch your football game or something like that, we have that opportunity to do that in our TV room here. And then over here is more like the game and activity area. We've got a ping pong table, which also doubles as a sewing surface, a pool table, and back here it's really neat. We've got a library area, and really that's just people in the community have contributed their own books to the library, and so that's worked out really well. So yeah, out back here we've got a grilling and fire pit area, and then we've got a farmhouse table. We've actually normally have two, but we brought one out into our field area. But a nice area out here where we actually have potlucks and things like that, so there's plenty of space to get together with a lot of people out back. What do the tiny homes have to be, essentially, to be able to legally be here? And yeah, that was an issue that was explored with the planners. And since it's an RV park, they have to be an RV. So they have to be on wheels. They have to be able to be moved, readily moved. They can't be permanently affixed to the infrastructure here, just like any other RV park. I think there's a few different ways they can be deemed an RV. If they're RVIA certified or NOAA certified, you know, they're built to nationally recognized RV standards, then that will certainly suffice. And if they're registered as a travel trail or by state DMVs or one of those licensing organizations, they'll be able to be here as well. Those are really the two boxes I need to check for the tiny home RVs that are in the park. And in terms of the length of the stay, there are no local ordinances that limit the length of the stay. But of course, I'm still renting the site. You know, people can't buy the site, and I'm not doing multi-year leases or anything like that.
The owner built this park, and we all came with a story, a unique story, and now we all live together. And yeah, things change because we're on wheels. And so people come and go, and there is a wait list. And if anybody's interested, I'd say get your name on that wait list as soon as possible. Sometimes it feels like things are stagnant, but not really. Being on wheels, people come and go, and there's always an opportunity to get in here. It is the best community I've ever lived in. One of the greatest benefits of living tiny, besides when you mess up your house and have to clean it, it doesn't take very long. It opens up your lifestyle to be able to go do the things that you want to do. When I was in corporate America, it was very hard to get out and do the outdoor activities that I so much love. And living here is the exact opposite. It is afforded every outdoor activity I could ever love within 678 steps to the beach.
Hey guys, well thanks for coming out to visit us at Tiny Tranquility. For everybody else who may want to visit and stay in one of our nightly rentals or just check out the park or just really get some information or a vibe for the park if you're thinking about tiny home living, then you should be able to find all the information you need on our website at tinytranquility.com, including you can go ahead and actually book a nightly rental there if you want to. So thanks for coming.
Thank you for watching our video and for stopping by Tiny House Expedition. I'm Alexis.
And I'm Christian. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
And for more tiny home tours and stories, click the videos below,
And join us on Instagram for bonus content.
including face-to-face conversations with us. We hope to see you there.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Have a good one.